So this is an introduction to the functional approach that we will be using in LLED200. This is a little bit different of approach to writing than maybe you're used to in the past. In the past, you might have used a lot of grammar, a lot of error correction, but we're really going to focus on the function, the purpose. What are we trying to say? So let's take an example. Say that we have an email. So this email is going to be between two people. So for this example, we're going to have a student who's going to email the instructor. So we already know the participants, the two people who are engaged in this email. This would go in the to line, and this would go in the from. Next, we would have the subject line. Let's say for our first example that the subject line has been left blank. The student starts the body of the email by saying, "Hi, I'm thinking I want see you in your office. Please reply me." Now, if we were looking at this from the grammar point of view, a grammar teacher might go ahead and correct this by saying, "Hi, I'm thinking that I want to see you in your office. Please reply to me." Now we have an email that's grammatically correct, but there's still something wrong with it. If we look back, we can see that we have a student talking to an instructor. If we look at this from the functional perspective, we could try again. We would say, we know we have a student talking to an instructor, so we want to make appropriate choices thinking about the audience, the instructor. So we started off with, "Hi." We have some different choices here. Hi would be maybe how I would start an email to a friend. Since I'm talking to an instructor, a different choice would be dear. This one is more formal. So now we've made a different choice. Now we're going to start the email with dear, and we have another choice coming. We need to identify who the instructor is. Typically, we could use things like Mr., Ms., Doctor, or Professor. So let's start this one with Dear Doctor, and really the only choice we have here is the person's last name or their family name. Now that we've made our appropriate language choices for the salutation, we want to focus on the body of the email. For this, we have to think about the content, the purpose. So what was the purpose of this email? The purpose is oftentimes summarized in the subject line. For this, we're doing really a request. And the request for what? A request for an appointment. Now, if we think about how typically we do a request in English, very oftentimes a request would be done in the form of a question. So we could start this email off with, "Could I please make an appointment during your office hours?" This is a great language choice because it seems very polite, is worded in the form of a question, and that politeness shows the relationship between the student and the instructor. As an instructor, if I received this question, I would want to know a little bit more. So why do you need an appointment? What can I help you with? This would be great information to include in the email. So could I please make an appointment during your office hours? What do you want to do? I would like to discuss my essay topic. So now the instructor knows what you're asking for and why. So the last part that we need for our email is called the closing. And we want to make sure that we have a nice, polite closing. We have a few language choices. We could do something like, thank you, best regards, sincerely. These are all appropriate choices for a student who's talking to an instructor. If I were talking to my friends, it would be different. I might end it with cheers or best, but this isn't formal enough to send an email to an instructor. So to finish this email, I'm going to choose thank you. So you want to make sure also to sign your name. Who's the email from? What would also be good information for the instructor to have? Not only your name, they might use your course and your student ID number. So as you can see in LLED200, we're going to take a slightly different approach to looking at writing. We're really going to look at the purpose. We're going to consider the situation. And looking at these, we're going to try to make appropriate language choices. We're going to focus on looking at 3 different things. One of them is, what do I want to say? We're going to talk about this in class as the content. Once I decide what I want to say, then I want to think about how do I want to say it. We're going to call this organization. How do I organize my writing? And the last one is the who. In this example, we have a student speaking to an instructor. We're going to call this one interpersonal positioning. You can remember this as it has the word person in it, which refers to the who. So these 3 things, the what, the how, and the who, the content, the organization, and the interpersonal positioning. So let's just take a quick example here. The what, the content. So if I look at the what in my email, I could say, what kind of content words do I see? What are the important key words in here? Well, I wanted to make an appointment. Appointment is part of my content. Office hours is also part of my content. I want to discuss my essay topic. This topic is part of my content. The how did I organize an email? Emails usually are staged with a subject, letting the person know what it is that you're going to talk about, a salutation, a greeting, the body, and then a type of closing here, identifying the writer. The who is very, very important in this example because we have a student talking to an instructor. This would be really different than if we had a student talking to another student or if we had an instructor talking to another instructor. It changes the content words that I choose, and it changes how I organize my email. So we can see that the approach that we're going to be using in LLED200 is really about having appropriate communication.